Buddy, I'm Justice Dunn, and today I'm going to be playing the beginner's guide. I'm starting on this menu to show you. I'm going to be going back and forth between this until it's done. I'll be starting the beginner's guide. And this is made by David Redden. I don't know how to pronounce his name. He's a cool game developer. He made the Stanley Parable. Ooh. So options, audio, okay, so full captions, back, video, okay, gamepad, back, begin the game. Please make sure audio is on. It is. So everybody can hear it. Controls WASD and right click. Just like Stanley Parable.
Hi there. Thank you very much for playing the Beginner's Guide.
You're welcome.
My name is Davey Reedon. I wrote the Stanley Parable, and while that game tells a pretty absurd story, today I'm going to tell you about a series of events that happened between 2008 and 2011.
Okay.
We're going to look at the games made by a friend of mine named Coda. Now, these games mean a lot to me. I met Coda in early 2009 at a time when I was really struggling with some personal stuff, and his work pointed me in a very powerful direction. I found it to be a good reference point for the kinds of creative works that I wanted to make. So just to start you off, this is, I think, the first game he ever made.
Ooh.
It's a level for Counter-Strike. You can walk around here, by the way. And mostly it's just Coda learning the basics of building a 3D environment.
Cute.
But what I like is that even though he starts from the simple aesthetic of a desert town, he then scatters these colorful abstract blobs and impossible floating crates around the level. And of course, it destroys the illusion that this actually is a desert town, and instead this level becomes a kind of calling card from its creator. It's like a reminder that this video game was constructed by a real person. And it kind of makes you wonder, what was going through his head as he was building this? This is what I like about all of Coda's games. I mean, not that they're all fascinating as games, but that they are all going to give us access to their creator. I want us to see past the games themselves. I want to get to know who this human being really is. And that's exactly what we're going to do here.
And jump.
So, it's 2008, Coda starts making these games, and he never releases any of them. He doesn't put them onto the internet, he just makes them and then immediately abandons them, and they sit on his computer forever. And I think he really understood this image of himself as a recluse. At one point, he jokingly renamed his computer's recycling bin to Important Games Folder. So, you know, this was just how he worked. He tended to crank them out one after the other without even really pausing to try to understand what he had just made, until suddenly one day, he just stopped. In 2011, that was it. He made his last game, and then he hasn't made another one since. And that's why I've taken this opportunity to gather all of his work together, is because I find his games powerful and interesting, and I'd like this collection to reach him, to maybe encourage him to start creating again. And if the people like you who play this also happen to find his work interesting, then I'm sure it'll just send that much stronger of a message of encouragement to Coda.
Okay.
So thanks for joining me on this. If you have a particular interpretation that I haven't mentioned here, or if you just need to get in touch, you can email me at daveyWreden@gmail.com. Okay, that's about it for introduction. Let's take a look at Coda's first proper game.
Okay.
As each game is loading, I'll show you the date that it was completed.
Okay.
This first one was made in November 2008.
Okay. Loading November 2008. Ooh.
This game is called Escape from Whisper, and it's one of the more generic games you'll see from Coda.
Security call breached. Hostile alien life form inbound.
It kind of looks like this game was abandoned mid-development. For instance, you have this gun, which you'd think would indicate that there are supposed to be monsters or enemies somewhere. But then clearly there are no enemies anywhere.
Yeah, it's true.
You can't even reload the gun when you run out of bullets. But ultimately we don't really know. Maybe Coda thought that actually it was complete the way that it is.
Bullets.
And I think that we should talk about his games for what they are, rather than for what they're not.
Enemy force neutralized. Begin ship evacuation.
It's loud. Ooh, I see a place. Ooh.
I love how you can see the bottom of the universe from this room.
That is so funny.
Apparently this space station has a labyrinth on it. Sure, I don't know. There's really no reason for it that I've ever been able to discern, so in the interest of time, I'm just gonna skip you on past it.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, this is the part that's interesting. The game has this
Whisper
narrative
Chef's
about
active.
the Whisper Machine and how it has to be turned off, and then you get to the engine room.
Hey, you there, in the engine room. You could save us all. That
Okay.
beam is powering the Whisper Machine. We could disrupt it by introducing a great enough heat signature. If your body could stop the beam. It's so much to ask, but for all of our
Wow.
lives, would you do it? Could you give yourself?
Nah. Bye-bye. Not sure. Well, dude,
Let me
just
pause
be
here for a
careful.
second. What you just experienced, stepping into the beam and then dying, is probably what Coda had initially intended when he was developing this level. But when he first compiles and plays it, something goes wrong. There's a bug somewhere. And this is what happens instead.
Okay, what happens instead? Oh. Float upwards. Oh, it's a labyrinth.
The beam causes you to start floating. And this is an important moment for him. Because yes, this is technically a glitch, but Coda identifies something human about it. Like how small it makes you feel in the face of this larger chaotic system. Or this floating could be the afterlife, a peaceful place, juxtaposed against all of the hysteria that you've just had
Yeah.
to traverse. I don't even know. I have no idea what he was thinking, but what's clear is that after making this, something lodges itself in his brain. He wants to do more of these really weird and experimental designs. So he stops work on this and moves on to a stream of tiny little games that go in all sorts of directions. Let's go ahead and take a look at the
I'm
first game he
floating.
made after leaving this one behind.
Okay. Loading, November 2008. Ooh.
Yep, in this game you can only walk backwards.
Ugh. My worst nightmare. Ugh.
So it's a short and relatively minimalist
Please
experiment
not be
combining
seen.
motion and narrative. It is less advanced than the previous game, but
Keep
actually
changing?
it seems to be more focused, more complete. Coda's trying to give it a unique voice rather than simply basing it on a pre-existing
It becomes
trope.
clearer when she stops and looks. But if the future is always behind her, how will she find the strength to confront
It's a short
it?
little thought, it says what it wants to say, and then it ends. Didn't need anything more than that. Which to me is why it works, because it gets out quick.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next one.
Yay. November 2008. I wish I could make games this fast. You're now entering
That's it. Okay, the meaning of this game won't be clear just yet. Please be patient with me for a few more games, and I promise you'll see what makes it interesting.
Okay. No, December 2008. Nonsense in nearly
Oftentimes,
every
Coda would
direction.
put bizarre titles like this one at the start of his games.
Okay.
I wish I'd known him at the time that he was making these early games. He would really only talk to me about his work as he was making it. Once he stopped work on a game, that was it. It was dead to him. And I don't agree with that at all, but what are you gonna do?
Oh no. Oh no.
Once you've been slowed to an absolute crawl, the door at the top of the stairs opens. So why, if Coda's not showing these games to anyone, why bother opening the door at all? Well, to show you, I'm modifying the game here so that when you press enter, it'll bring you back up to full speed so you can enter the door for yourself.
Okay. Stand on an X staring at the bear for 3 hours. Doesn't you collect them all? Game of only a minute away. Oh. When I tell a player cannot move, you run a shop inside your own body. It's on your organ.
A room that's warm
Your peers.
and nice and filled with little ideas for games.
Your press report. Ah. You're trying to eat the sharks.
Coda would often tell me that he didn't mind if people thought of him as cold or distant. He said that he knew that he was actually a vibrant and compassionate person,
No, but
that it takes time to really see that. It can be a very slow climb to get there.
So you're trying like every 5 seconds to keep playing? Every 15. Okay, not 1.5. Key one game unlocks door in a completely separate game. That's kind of cool. January 2009. Ready, set, fish. Ooh, fish. I want to make a simple game like this someday.
Well, this is new for Coda. It's an actual puzzle. Go ahead and see if you can solve it. Don't forget that solution, because we're going to see this puzzle again soon. We're going to see it a lot.
We're going to see it a lot. Okay.
So that seems to be it, right? You walk down a corridor, you solve a puzzle, you get to the end. Simple enough. Alright, now I'm going to modify the game again, so that when you press enter, it'll remove all of the walls from this room.
Okay. Ah! What the? Huh?
How about that? There was more to it than we had any way of knowing. I actually find it funny that this game comes after the Stairs game, since they essentially convey the opposite idea. So, in the Stairs game, a dull exterior concealed a rich interior. And then, in this level, a dull interior hides this fantastic outer world. Either way, I think that the point is the same, is that most of the time you don't get to know what you're missing, or even that you're missing anything. That's not your role as a player. So if your role here is not to understand, then what is it?
The play? I don't know. Oh, in January 2009. Oh, we're back. Maybe this is the point.
Aha! So, this, combined with the entering game from earlier, tells us that Coda believes his games are connected somehow. It could even be that the Stairs game and puzzle game are literally connected in between this and the entering game. There's a bigger picture that all of his games are meant to play a role in, some larger meaning that we won't be able to grasp until we've seen all of them. And once we have, we can step back and start to understand what exactly that bigger picture is.
Interesting. Ooh, it's a house. Nice looking house.
Let's talk about video game development for a second. Every video game runs on what's called an engine, which determines what the game can and cannot do. So in other words, the engine is a set of tools for game development.
Yeah.
To make
Unreal
all of these
Engine.
games, Coda is using an engine called Source.
Source.
Like all engines, Source has certain things that it does well, and it has certain things that it does poorly. One of the things that it does very well is boxy linear corridors. That's why so many of Coda's games are set in these large, flat, empty rooms, is just because he's working with what the engine does well.
Aw, that's something nice.
The tools available to the creator shape what kinds of creative work they're going to end up making. You might consider paying attention to the architecture in Coda's games, to notice how they seem to stem from an engine that's very good at producing linear, boxy corridors.
I just jumped. Ah, he's glad. So this. Ooh, now where am I? Huh. Let's go down here. Lots of gates. What? Huh? I could probably get him out there. I can't. Oh, I can go out this way.
This prison, funny enough, in Coda's original design, the doors stayed shut for a full hour before letting you go. If you don't mind, I think we're gonna skip that. This is something that he and I used to argue about a lot. You know, whether a game ought to actually be playable, whether it means anything if no one can get through it. And I would always defend that, you know, all this work goes into the game, why not make it playable and accessible? And so we just got into heated arguments over it, and there was one time that after one of these conversations, he went home, and a day or two later, he sent me a zip file entitled Playable Games that was full of hundreds of individual games, each of which was just an empty box that you walked around in and nothing else. Believe me, I played every single one of those just to find out if there was like a gag hidden somewhere. There wasn't.
Oh, it sounds so boring. And honestly, though, this looks really cool. I wish I could make a game like this. That's what I was saying here, right? Yeah.
It's the puzzle again, with the exact same solution as the last time. There's still no clear indication of what makes this puzzle so special that Coda is going to return to it over and over. But
Anything
I
up here?
promise I'll share with you my interpretation very shortly.
Over here. Am I sure I'm not missing things now? Ooh, the sky. It's lava. I've already played this like longer than my last video. You there, did you come from up above? What was that
Here, Coda begins using a kind of dialogue system that
Yes,
he
there are the
fashioned out
words.
of the engine's
Right,
chat
yes, there are the
capabilities.
words.
Use the 1, 2, 3 buttons on your keyboard to respond.
No, it's prison. You have to get through a puzzle with 2 doors and switches. 1. Hey, hurry, now please tell us how you solve it. Tell us the solution. Tell us how we get to the other side. Trust me, you don't want to go over there. 3. Oh, I do, we do. We need to get there. Do you understand this? It is the most important thing in the world. You have to escape this prison. There must be an ending. I promise you, there's nothing I want more. Ooh. A separate door. Ah! Was there a puzzle you had to pass through? But one. Two. Don't think too hard about it. Whoa. You'll see it again soon. I will? Ah, it's back. This is different. I don't like it. If I see those three-head listen people again, I'm gonna be mad.
And so we make one last descent
Down to the final floor of the level. Yeah, I read that. Whee! Oh wow, it's a light. Oh, light.
It's a lamppost. Okay, I can't tell you quite why, but for some reason Coda fixates on this lamppost. It's going to appear at the end of every single one of his games from here on out. I'll tell you what I think. I think that up to this point, he's been making really strange and abstract games with no clear purpose, and maybe you can only float around in that headspace for so long. Because now he wants something to hold on to. He wants a reference point. He wants the work to be leading to something. He wants a destination.
Crickets.
Which is what this lamppost is. It's a destination.
Or
We're going to see it in the work as well. His games are just going to become a lot more cohesive, a lot more fully developed, with more of a clear idea behind them.
Ooh.
And as we go, that idea will get clearer and clearer and clearer.
Next game. Loading April 2009. This game is connected to the internet. As you walk around, you can leave notes. All notes you see are left by other players. Nice room. Not. I'll leave a note. That's actually real.
So first off, I'm sure you can deduce this,
How
but
do you
this
beat this
game
game?
is not connected to the internet.
Yeah, I thought so.
All of the notes that you're going to
Avoid
see have
this.
been written by Coda. This was actually the first game of his that I ever played. This was shortly after I met him at a weekend
Whoa, holy
game
shit.
jam in Sacramento, where I grew up.
You guys hear me?
I saw him working on this very level, and it was just so different from anything that
Hello?
anyone else was doing. So right away I was like, I have to be
Reasonable.
friends with this person. In retrospect, I think I was probably a
Everyone
bit
read
too
the-
pushy, trying to get his
Hey.
attention. I was over
Listening
enthusiastic,
is sad.
but he was very gracious about it and very
I'll tell
patient
you,
with
see,
me.
once upon a time I did
And I cooled off eventually.
define fun.
Oh, feel free
I'm
to
king
skip
of
over
rock.
any of these notes if they're not doing anything for you. Nothing extra is going to happen if you read all of them. Either way, to me they convey a sense of loneliness. I see this person
Oh,
who's filled with thoughts
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm
and
definitely not reading all of
feelings
them.
and beliefs, and has no way to express them except as scattered and unheard voices in a game that wasn't meant to be played.
What the heck? I cannot read all of those.
But it's ironic, isn't it, that in playing this
Jeez,
game
look at all
and
those.
seeing how alone Coda often felt, that we get to know him better and actually kind of connect with him. And I have to be honest with you, this idea is really seductive to me. That I could just play someone's game and see the voices in their head and get to know them better and have to do less of the messy in-person
Is there-
socializing. I could just get to know you through your work. I think this is why I always liked Coda's games so much. Is because it
Door
felt
now
like they
open.
let me have that connection. I felt as though he was
Oh,
inviting
more.
me personally into his world. And then I feel less lonely too.
Whoa. Hey, room. No room. I'm not. I could never read all of these. Oh my gosh. What? It's not possible to read all. It's crazy. That's sad. This is a no. Oh, of course. Don't listen to the other notes. I'm not safe. Ooh. That's cool. I like that painting. Stop faking it. I'm not faking it. We will all die. Just writing these notes would take forever. It was like, ugh. There must be a reason for it, though. Go figure he kept it well. Yeah, I beat the game. Sure you did. More room?
At the end of this level, we're going to see the puzzle again. And here, I'll tell you what I think the puzzle means. Each of these games represents an idea that was on Coda's mind at the time that he was making it. And the puzzle is a way of closing the door on a previous chapter of his life before moving on to the next one.
I wish our notes in the wall. Yeah. Downward.
In each of his games, after exploring a theme that, he might find difficult, Coda can then place this puzzle that he knows has a reliable solution, he understands exactly how it works, and so it gives him a simple mechanism for moving on.
Oh.
And because there's this dark area between the doors, a space between spaces, before you move on, you get to pause. Just for a moment, a few seconds to reflect on and let go of the events that led you here. To step back and connect the pieces together. To grasp at that elusive bigger picture.
Ooh. My notes. Ooh, this is loud. How do you leave notes? This is loud. Typewriters. Hello. Are you there? Please say something. Can't be anything. Just say something. Talk to me, please. Why are you having so much difficulty talking? Speak. Speaking. Ooh, May, June 2009. Poor Cyrus died too.
Okay, this one is tough. It's gonna kind of just spin its own wheels for a few
I like
minutes.
That. It looks
Hang
cool.
with it.
Okay. I like this design. Bum, bum. Though the reason why I like Source is I like a simplicity to my ideas. So like if I were to make a game, Source is probably what I'd use. Or Unreal, just if I could make something like that, it'd be really
See,
cool.
like, this is it. The whole game. And there's nothing that's particularly interesting about it. You just walk to the end of a hallway. Except, for some reason, Coda gets really fixated on this prison that has all of this modern furniture. And I don't know why, but he decides he needs to revisit this prison. He's going to start over, use the same assets, turn it into something else. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Here's version 2.
Front row to go in the center of the room. What to use surround sound with a giant hole in the ground. It's a TV. That's a table. All around. 10 stoves. We should light up this room a bit. Two. I'm not good with real lighting. We already have a table. I'm pretty sure tables were written in 1935. Ooh. Whoa. What?
There's a bit more to this one, but still, it's not really communicating anything. It's kind of just weird for weirdness' sake.
It's kind of cool, though. I really do.
So, okay, he throws it out and starts over. This time he comes at the prison idea from a different direction.
Okay. Hello, please walk forward. Scout, you to escape any prison environment. Also, computer. First, click on the table. Good. Go over to the photo frame and click to turn it slightly. off and back on. Move over a little bit. Left side sofa. I touch the shelves. You're gonna start rotating back to your prison. Okay, what if I don't? What if I... Oh, okay, I guess I have to go back to my prison. Return. Cool games, just small. I'd like to make like a couple small games. Ooh.
And of course, now the table is gone and you can't begin the chain of events to escape. Here's a version where there are no bars, but you can't actually get to the well. And then a version where the inside of the prison is the outside and the outside is the inside.
What?
Let me just blink you real quick through a few more of these. I mean, he really unloaded on this prison idea. There's nearly a dozen of them. Personally, I think
You're
it's
in the well.
awful to watch this. To see a person basically
Door?
unraveling through their work. And for what? Like, at what point do you just go, maybe there are game ideas
Whoa.
other than this prison that I could be working?
Oh, we're all upside
But
down.
Coda doesn't have that voice telling you to stop. That particular mechanism of defense against yourself. Without it, you just spiral. And so he keeps going and going and going and going and going. And then he hits on something.
Ooh.
And he likes it. And that's it. He's done. He stops making prisons.
Can I see it?
This is the very last version of the prison game that he created. And the reason I think it works is that the prison is not actually in it.
Huh. This looks like a completely different game. Turn up my light a little bit. Just realized it wasn't all the way up. See, this is just a completely different game. A phone booth? Hello? Who is this? Hey, it's me. It's you from after you escaped prison. You're me? Dot. So you were trapped in this prison too?
It's a conversation. And so this is what Coda wants, is to be able to talk to someone, to share what's on his mind, and to get some good advice from someone who knows.
That's where I am right now.
But the irony is that even in this scenario, you're still talking to yourself.
What's it like to escape?
All of these games so far are Coda talking to himself.
Really so, and wildly emotional at the same time. You feeling different? Oh, I just said. Sometimes I'm scared I'll get out and then things will go exactly the same as before. I don't feel like the same person at all. Oh, good. That's so nice to hear. That makes me feel really happy. I mean, who you are right now. Still me, but I'm not somehow. It's hard to describe. You get to a call from another version of you when you were trapped? One. No, I think I'm the first person to call back. Then can you tell me how to get out? I can come find you. What do I have to do? Ah. What? That'll free me? How does that work? It all makes sense. Huh. Okay, if there's nothing will ever change. Go on. Huh.
I can see why he considers this a fitting conclusion to the prison games. After all of the obsession and frustration, just to be told by someone you can trust that things are going to be okay. Wouldn't that be nice?
Mm-hmm.
So what would it look like if Coda wanted to make a game about talking to someone other than himself?
I don't know.
To me, this environment is meant to represent Coda's puzzle. with the 2 doors on either side and a dark transitional space between.
There's a door up there. Well, my goodness, I'm glad as all heck that you showed up. You know, I might be heading from the stairhouse on. Right miserable that will have been. Everyone knows lonesome hands make lousy homes. Or about me, Blizzards now, I'll be glad to see.
You'll notice that the quality of the art is a step up from previous games, including this new and improved chat system, which he
I'm telling
started
you,
using
it'll be
from
fun to
this
do
point
a
on.
job with. Well, this place is
From
going
here
to
on
itself,
out, he begins
far as I
putting
know.
much more effort into the visual polish of his
Clear the
work,
tag.
and this particular game took 2 months to create as a result.
I want to say. You just run to the bedroom and make the bed. The bed? You're asking a lot out of me. That's the bathroom. I'll leave these in bed. How do you know? Just for cash. So good doing something for money my whole life. Games I had ready to face it. I was being dean. Someone put the scotch on mess. Will you might be honest with the bills here? Sure. Sure. Very special to you. You just aren't doing any work. You just want me for my job. Okay. What?
After the intense set of prison games, this house cleaning level almost feels like cleansing. It's the moment after a particularly difficult or traumatic experience where you just need to let it sit and digest inside of you, and eventually cohere into something meaningful. I know that Coda really liked this game. Of all of his work, actually, this was the only one that he called me up to ask me to come over and look at it. This was during a period of a few months where he was like grossly happy all the time, just walked around with a constant smile on his face.
Huh. No, there's a thought-provoking game. Books.
I'm glad he made this. I'm glad he found some peace.
Question. Do you enjoy
But,
this?
of course, it can't last. The music stops, your companion is gone, it's time to leave. The door at the top of the hill is now open as well. Again, you can't stay in the dark space for too long. You just can't. You have to keep moving. It's how you stay alive.
Yeah. Almost up there. We're almost there. Almost there. Can we make it? Can we make it? Oh, yep. Made it. It's the door. It's the light.
Which is the whole point of the puzzle doors, right? That sooner or later you have to pick up and move. I really thought that was the point of it.
Loading September 2009. Items you love at members on
This
prices.
one gets a bit goofy.
He really likes these block people. Want to improve your life? Did you get a better job? Let me out of here. No? You Be a gamer to become perfect. What? Now I'm here? You're really Who do you think about that way in your own life? Who do you know who is so well developed a person that they make you feel disgusted with yourself, compared to whom you feel useless, selfish, ungrateful? I intend to make you into that person. Perfection is within your grasp. I'm almost there. And the question is how, not how do we do it? How do we do it effortlessly? This is easy. It is so easy. It is so easy.
About halfway through the game, the perspective shifts.
Huh? Whoa!
And you play as the teacher. Suddenly, you discover that your teacher is just as bigoted and afraid as you are. Oh, and also you can move around the classroom now.
Huh? Huh? Haha, just kidding. That's
felt pretty
cool.
hard for this one. I feel like it's one of the most relatable experiences that you can have. To assume that some other person is perfect and totally fulfilled in every way, and completely miss all of the little flaws that make them painfully human. I think about this game a lot these days.
Ooh, January 2010. I wasn't even 11 yet.
This one took a lot longer than all the others for Coda to make. It was 4 months between this and the last one. That's twice as long as it took him to make any other game before this, and it's not like it's particularly complex, so I remember I found that a little strange at the time.
Ah, that scared me. Places, please. Okay. I'm here right now. I'm dancing around. Ah, there's a wall. Can one do it? Nope. It's another. Huh. It's a wall. Huh. What? Wise? Happy? Emotions? What's happening? No! I have to escape. Oh. There's the bathroom. Please help me. Stop it! Stop it! You're not happy. Do it again. I'm like super scared right now. No, that's not what I said to you right now. You're willingness and tone of the conversation. I was remember. I knew what I wanted. I was confident. Okay. You feel the bounce when you touch the log. Ooh. He's fun. Don't. Boop, 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 boop. Oh, I like those. Light. Let's keep walking. What?
The game ends with this eerie premonition of what's going to happen next in Coda's life. The solution to social anxiety, to fears of having to perform and having to chase success, the answer for Coda is to withdraw, to hide himself away. which is what leads to scenarios like the stairs that slowed you down several games ago, where it just becomes harder and harder to access Coda's inner landscape because he keeps retreating. He just keeps backing away from possible connections to anyone other than himself. And to be honest, I didn't consider it very helpful when I first played this game. You know, it looked to me like he was trying to justify the idea of just disconnecting himself from the world. And that wasn't what I wanted for him or for his games. Because I feel like a lot of his games are inviting me to connect with this person, to bring him closer.
Aw, so kind of hoping I reached the back.
But what can you do? After this, Coda went off and took another 5 months to make a new game.
Ooh, June 2010. By this point, I was 11. Mobius strip. Players can probably must keep your eyes closed. Click to begin the game. I'm looking. I can't die. Why? What? Oh, dog. Oh no, it's a giant door. No.
You should probably open your eyes if you haven't already. It's pretty much impossible to solve otherwise. And there is a solution, by the way.
I don't know what the solution is. Why? I really don't know. Ah. Still not. You sound like a forever. Oh. I'm an idiot. I didn't see this before. I'm an idiot. Can't keep making these? Says that that's the truth.
Like I said, I was getting concerned. First off, he's never been this explicit in his work about exactly what he's thinking. So where's that coming from? But then even weirder, his work has potentially stopped being an outlet for him. Not like he's having trouble iterating on ideas, but he literally just can't think of new ideas anymore. And in person, he was being a lot more distant than usual. Like, you know how sometimes a person will just deflect anything that you say in order to keep themselves disconnected all the time? It was that kind of thing. Here was the point in my relationship with Coda where I really started to wonder if he needed my help in some way. His games are going to get more desperate from here on out. After this game, it's almost 6 months before he finishes something new.
Ooh, December 2010. Ow. Hello? Where am I? Ooh. Empty. Oh, that's not good. Ah. Oh. It isn't far. There we go.
If the last game featured Coda talking explicitly about his creative frustrations, this one turns it up to 11. Now, put yourself in my shoes playing this. Here's a friend whose work is exhibiting signs of struggle, frustration, anxiety, depression, even. And yet, still, he keeps making games. He keeps throwing himself into the grinder even when he
Ooh.
clearly doesn't have the energy for it anymore. Why? What is it for? Because from my perspective at the time and just what I knew of him, this was a result of how isolated he was. He was in his own little bubble, just sitting at his computer all day, not really showing these games to anyone, not releasing them onto the internet, and so he didn't have anyone outside of himself to connect with. He had no outlet to ground himself on. You can't talk yourself out of loneliness. It doesn't work that way. You can't be the one writing both the questions and the answers. Then there's no movement. Then there's no circulation. If all of your anxieties are being channeled into your work, then if the work ever fails, you have no backup and you're just going to crash. Seeing this game at the time that he made it, it looked really unhealthy to me.
Ugh.
I was watching him do this to himself, and I hated it. I hated seeing him so trapped. It's like, video games are not worth this amount of suffering. This is someone I really cared about. And I used to get so much joy out of seeing him create. For him to suddenly become angry and frustrated like this, it was the worst thing for me.
Ooh.
I don't know. This is what I felt at the time. I don't know how else to explain it.
Is that the prison?
I wanted it to stop more than anything.
It's the prison.
I had never felt so rotten. I needed more than I had ever needed anything for this to stop. But it didn't stop. After finishing this one, Coda takes another 7 months and comes up with a new game.
Loading May 2011. The Machine. That's you, right? We've got the machines waiting for you. Now, you can begin the indication when you're ready. Also, one more thing that you should know about the machine: it calls itself Coda. Wow, just a simple door. Ooh, it's the machine. You stopped.
And of course, it's the machine.
You stopped feeding us. It's been so long. Apologies for leaving you. No, nothing. My friends. No. Ooh, another door. A bat! Can I bounce again? Please tell me I can bounce. Oh yeah, this is kind of sad.
So now the work is becoming self-destructive. And I'll tell you, at the time that I first played this game, shortly after he made it, here's what I'm thinking to myself. I'm thinking that code is stuck in his own head, and that it's having a very negative effect on him, and that all he needs to do is just start showing his work to people, to get some actual feedback on his games. It might get him out of isolation. And so, as I'm thinking this, I realize that I could be the one to initiate it. Because it would never occur to Coda to start actively soliciting feedback, so what if I did it for him? If he could see the difference it would make to have more actual conversations with other human beings, would that bring him out of his mental spiral? Would it give him confidence in himself? Would it bring meaning back into his work?
Whee! Shoot, 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 shoot.
So I started showing Coda's work to people. I took this one, and the islands which you just played, the theater, the notes, the house cleaning game, and some of the prison escape games. I brought them to people that I knew and trusted. I asked their opinions. And the great part is that they really loved his games. You know, the point of it all was just to give him some external reference point, but they genuinely loved his work. There was nothing for him to be afraid of.
Ooh. Put down your weapon. Oh no, I'm shooting
Can you
it.
see why I felt like this was the right thing to do? Because it's the
Ah.
thing that I always feel like I need, to be
Shoot,
told
shoot.
that my work is good, that I am good. When someone really connects with a thing that I've made, when they see themselves purely in my work, there's nothing that feels better. And I got to give that very same feeling to my friend. I did something, I really felt like I'd done something good, like Like, I was a good person. I felt like there was a friend who was in trouble and was unhappy and maybe didn't like themselves, and I could fix it. If I could give him this gift, maybe I could fix the problem. When they told me how much they enjoyed his games, it was the best feeling. It was the absolute best feeling. It made me feel so happy. So beautifully, beautifully happy.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, Coda finishes this game, and then really he just kind of takes off for a while. So this is June of 2011, and I didn't hear anything from him for several weeks, I guess. And so out of nowhere, one day I get an email, and it's got a private link to a new game of Coda's. This one is called The Tower, and to my knowledge, it's the last game that Coda ever made. So let's take a look.
Okay. Let's take a look. June 2011. The Tower.
And this is where I have trouble saying anything meaningful about Coda's work. Because more than anything else, The Tower just feels distant. It feels like it's trying to distance itself from the world. It's a very cold game.
Huh.
This room actually has a maze in it.
Oh.
Except that all the walls of the maze are invisible. And then every time you touch one of the walls, there's this awful flashing and noise. So the experience is really miserable. The game goes beyond not being meant to be played. It actually seems to despise the player for trying to play it at all. But I do want to show you the rest of the levels, so when you're ready to continue, press enter and I'll put a bridge over the maze.
Jesus, is crazy.
And to be fair, it's not like this is the first game that's needed some modification to be playable. Like the house cleaning game. You know, that one used to actually loop the cleaning chores and you just cleaned a house forever. I had to cut it off so that you could exit the house and the game would actually end. But that game had an idea that it was actually trying to communicate. What's the deeper idea behind the invisible maze? The only way past this challenge is to randomly guess the 6-digit code.
Oh my gosh.
Like the invisible maze, it's frustrating to me, because it's the opposite of everything else that Coda has made. It doesn't encourage thought or engagement. It doesn't ask anything of me, except a lot of my time. If I could have reached him during this time, then maybe I could have asked him, but I couldn't. I still don't really understand why this is here. I'll put the code on the ground for you here, though, so that we can move on.
1516. 151617. Actually, not the most difficult thing. Did I just do? I did this. Let's continue climbing.
The switch to open this door is actually on the other side of the door, meaning that it's literally impossible to solve from this side. So even if you somehow brute forced your way through the first two challenges, and you got to this point, there's actually just no way to progress. And it's scary for me, the idea of Coda cutting himself off entirely, just saying, you know, that's it, that's the end of the conversation, not giving me any way to fix the problem. I feel like a failure, I guess, when I can't fix the problem. But I can open this door for you, so let me do that.
Okay.
Was I a
growing up.
failure for not understanding this game? I don't know why I would be. It's not like everything needs to have a solution, but I feel it somehow. I feel like I failed, and I don't understand why.
You know, and also, this would be kind of a cool
I
game.
remember, it's June of 2011. I'm playing this for the very first time. And as I'm playing, I'm thinking to myself, I don't know this person.
I think this would be kind
I
of a
have
cool
no
puzzle
idea
game if it
who
was
this
actually
person is.
finished and
It
real.
wasn't the guy I knew. It wasn't my friend. I had come to so many conclusions from looking at all of his work up to this point, and then suddenly none of them... I had been trying to, though. That was the thing. For years, I was trying to get to know him, to understand who he actually was and what he stood for. I asked him so many times to please just tell me what his games mean to him. I asked him please to tell me what the 3 dots mean. And he wouldn't.
We're getting farther up. Ooh, light. Colored light.
I just felt so strongly that if I could have connected with him, that if I could have somehow made his work my own, that I would finally be once and for all happy. It was that I needed to see myself in someone else. I needed to be someone other than me. But he stopped and left. And it felt somehow like I had failed.
Whoa, we're almost at the top.
Where did I screw up?
I don't know. Dear Davey, thank you for your interest in my games. I need to ask you not.
I am
ask
the
you
reason
not
that
to
you
speak
stopped
to me
making
anymore.
games, aren't I? It's because of what I did. I poisoned it for you. I don't think I ever told you this,
How many times will you
but
think
when I
I'm
took your
making these
work and I
games
was
for
showing
you?
it to people, it actually felt... it felt as though I were responsible for something important.
You're so infected my
and
personal
valuable.
life as impossible as possible. I did begin to
And
plant solutions
the
in my
people
work
who
somewhere,
played
hidden
them,
between games.
They treated me like I was important.
That doesn't answer.
They
I
really
mean,
listened
would it
and
make you
cared
any
about what
happier?
I had to say.
making my game and showing
Even though I was showing
wishes?
your work, it
Doing
was...
something that's not yours to keep filing
I
your
felt
button buddies,
good about
keep me
myself.
safe.
Finally.
You stopped treating my
For a
games as
moment,
and
while I
close to
had
them?
that, I liked myself.
You
and then
simply
you
let them
stopped.
be what they are.
And I didn't have anything left to show people. I just had
Around you,
to
I feel
be with
physically ill.
myself.
You're just
And as soon as
Dude,
that happened,
desperate.
there
You
was
need something,
no feeling at
and
all.
I cannot give it to you. I literally do not have
Nothing.
it.
Less than nothing.
Struggling to keep come up with a new
What does
idea
that
is not
mean?
making. There's low points are just a part of the process. The fact that you think I am frustrated broken says more about you than about me. I realize that this doesn't make sense to you just yet. Which is fine, you're not my problem to solve. I do hope that one day it clicks and that you make peace with this thing that you are wrestling.
I'm afraid that I did something really stupid because
When
I
you
don't like
finally
myself.
see what I'm talking about. Don't say anything.
That's why I'm releasing this collection of your work. Is because I haven't been able to find any other way to reach you. I've tried everything. And so a part of me has hope that if I put this compilation out into the world, and if I put my name on it, that maybe enough people will play it so that it'll find its way to you, so that I can tell you that I'm sorry. I know I screwed up. If I apologize to you truly and deeply, will you start making games again? Please. I need to feel okay with myself again. And I always felt okay as long as I had your work to see myself in. I mean, is something wrong with me?
You
Because
see,
I know that I did an awful thing, and I'm doing it again right now. Like, I'm showing people your work, but I can't stop myself from doing it. That's how badly I need to feel something again. Like I'm an addict. There has to be something wrong with me. Can I apologize? What if I tell you I was wrong? Will that work? Will that fix it? I don't know. I don't think it will, but there's nothing else that I can do. Just tell me what you want. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please, start making games again. Please help me. Please give me some of whatever it is that makes you complete. I want whatever that wholeness is that you just summoned out of nothing and you put into your work. You were complete in some way that I never was. And I want to know I want to know how to be a good person. I want to know how not to hate myself. Please.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
fading,
It's getting
and
smaller.
all
I
I
didn't
want
even
is to
notice
know
this.
that I'm going to be okay.
See, I did not notice that. That was weird. Epilogue. I think I finished this game faster than most people. Hey, it's a clock. Where's the door? Da-da.
More love, more praise, more people telling me that I'm good. Always more. It's like a disease. Solution.
Whoa, what? How did that happen? I really like this map. It's really nice and quaint.
I guess if someone had told me ahead of time that he just really enjoyed making prison games, maybe I wouldn't have thought he was so desperate. I wouldn't have told so many people that he was depressed. Maybe he just likes making prisons. Even now, the disease is telling me to stop. Don't show people what a shitty person you are. They'll hate you.
Huh? I had to go through here. Door. Or painting. Other door. Where am I? I'm making my way up here.
If I knew that my life depended on finding something to be driven by other than validation, what would that even be? It's strange, but the thought of not being driven
Why
by
not
external validation is unthinkable. Like, I actually cannot conceive of what that would be like.
Those are doors and the pillars. If I'm not back in the stage again, I'm gonna be really mad. I'm walking. Oh,
What now?
I don't know. Pizza. I'm really hungry.
I think I need to go.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, because I know that I said that I would be here and I would walk you through this, but I'm starting to feel like I have a lot of work to do. I have a lot that I need to make up for. And so I'm just gonna... Okay.
Narrator's gone so I can speak for a while. Yeah, this is a deep game. I don't know if it's true or I put like an idea out there. Even though I know I probably don't have to walk through these. I can probably walk around them. I'm gonna walk home. Okay, speak so. I wish I knew how to make games. It'd be super cool to have like my own. Is it prison? Weep. Weep. Ooh. More choice. Walking up the stairs. Going to a place. Ooh, light. Up, up to my leverage. I don't remember. They sound good. Let's make it. 2, 3. What, it's like 3. Almost there. It's the end of this one. It's almost there. Oh wow, it's this again. It's this again. Whoa. It's a giant maze. Woohoo! Oh, imagine actually like solving this. Ugh. My game can't even, computer can't even render that. How long this is. So it all meets in the middle. Okay guys, let's solve this maze. So start in the middle.
Turn back.
4R.
Turn back from this cave.
No.
You said, let me prove that I'm brave. Let me keep going.
Hey, Jesus.
But the cave goes
Turn Back. Written by Lena Heron. Performed by Lena Heron and Ryan Roth.
miles and miles. And you are so tired. But I know that you're strong. So turn back. Turn back.
Boom. Do. Wow. Guys. Wasn't that a thought-provoking game? This is a... This game makes you think. It's goodbye from Justice Done. See y'all next time. Peace.